Welcome to the Rent to Rent Success podcast, the only podcast entirely dedicated to helping you achieve rent to rent success. We talk about the ethical way to get you started in property without buying it. This is our place to inspire each other to believe bigger, to be bolder, and to be game changers for good. Property investors and sisters Stephanie and Nicky Taylor are your guides on this exciting ride. Let's start up the engines and get ready to fly. Hello, hello, hello. It's Stephanie here and welcome to episode 27 of Ask the Angels, where we answer your rent-to-rent questions. And if you would like to have your rent-to-rent question answered on this section, then go to rent2rentsuccess.com/askask. So today we have a question from Melanie. It's all about motivation. And as you can see, I'm usually solo on these Ask the Angels episodes, but I have brought in a motivation expert. He's an expert on many things. So we have with us Keith Corbett, who is a property investor. He's a therapist, and he helps people all around the world achieve massive change in their lives. He has extraordinary experiences and combines scientific, metaphysical, and spiritual teachings to help entrepreneurs and execs overcome the unconscious programming that leads to stress, anxiety, overwhelm. And that's the sort of stuff that stops you from getting what you want. It stops you from living your dreams. It stops you from taking action. So he shows people how to release their mental and emotional blocks, access their hidden inner resources to reclaim their power. That sounds just like what Melanie needs. And this enables people to reach their full potential and live with more purpose and joy. So welcome to the podcast, Keith Corbett. It's lovely to have you with us.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
Brilliant. Well, I think actually before we go to the detail of Melanie's question, what I'd love to do, Keith, is to get a little bit more information about you. So what took you from the marketing executive world to where you are now as a therapist?
Well, that's a great question. And honestly, my world got totally... I was every bit the young executive. I was climbing up the corporate ladder, doing all the things I thought that you were supposed to do in this world. And I got quite a big promotion. We moved to Colorado in the USA, a beautiful, beautiful place to live. We got the house and the view of the mountains and all that stuff. And I just thought, well, I've ticked all the boxes, everything I set out to do in my life. I'm not nearly halfway through it. What next? Is that all there is? And I say, be careful what you ask for, because that night, and this is how it started for me, with a scream. I opened my eyes and I let out this blood-curdling scream, because standing right there in front of me was the ghost of my dead grandmother. And you know that expression, jump out of your skin? I know what that's like. And so does my poor wife, who was lying next to me at the time. Now, I'm not here to change anybody's worldview or belief system. It doesn't really matter whether you think this is real or hallucination or what. But what mattered for me is this set me on a journey of discovery and self-discovery, and just enabled me to make so much change in my life. And I've helped since then many others do the same. I really got interested in metaphysics, studied it intensely, went to conferences, read for England, and all that great stuff. You have to discern somewhat. I mean, there's quite a bit of mumbo jumbo out there, but I didn't want to believe. I wanted to know, and I validate and prove everything myself. And basically, I collected in a mass of certifications, like a lot of scientifically validated stuff like NLP and hypnotherapy, all the way to more esoteric stuff like energy work and shamanic initiations. And I just combine it into what works. And what I really learned more than anything is how easily we as human beings give up our power. I mean, we don't come in with a manual. We're not taught this in schools, and we end up being programmed all through our lives by parents, teachers, peers, media, all sorts of stuff. It all affects our programming. And it's all at the unconscious level. So if we've got unconscious programming, like, scarcity mentality, money doesn't grow on trees, money's hard to come by, or what do you think about wealthy people, filthy rich, robber barons, things like this. If that's part of our psyche, our unconscious will protect us from ever becoming a bad person, or it'll reflect in our reality the beliefs that we have, which is why we do so much work at the level of the unconscious mind. And what I've come to realize is that we have 4 bodies: a physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, and they need to be in alignment. And when you're in alignment with your core being, you understand your values and your purpose. And for me, purpose is not really what you do. It's who you're being while you're doing what you choose to do. That said, there's some clues. If it's sucking the life out of you, that's a clue that maybe you should make some change in your life. Or if it's giving you joy and fulfillment, that's also a clue that you're on your path and being in alignment with who you are in your core being. And so, but by dumping the negative emotions and limiting beliefs and getting in alignment, and then accessing hidden inner resources. We do a lot of work on having a rapport between the conscious and the unconscious mind, so we can get we can make empowered decisions. We have very strong intuition and have a good feel for what's right. We can use both the brain and the heart rather than just one or the other, and it just becomes so much easier when you get the grace and ease of being in the flow, in alignment, with all the baggage out of the way and accessing the inner resources. And that's basically what I do now, and I love it. As you mentioned, I am a property investor. I went on a property journey, started off with buy-to-lets, did HMOs, and I've done a new build development, and right now I'm looking at commercial property. Got a viewing next week on a little shop with a flat above it. You start small and build up, but I'm still doing that. But what really drives me is this mission to help people become more self-empowered, stop giving up our power so easily, understand how powerful we truly are and how much in control of our lives we can be if we only understand how to dump that baggage, get in alignment, and access those inner resources. Pretty much what it's about for me now.
Brilliant. I love that. And thank you so much. It's so interesting that you're a property investor as well. So it's interesting to get that insight as well.
I have done rent to rent. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I mean, I have done rent to rent, and I have bought properties with none of my own money because I wanted to explore these strategies and prove that I could do them. And so I understand where people are coming from. The confidence to do it, the you want to do it, but something's holding you back. I get that, and I know how to get past it as well.
Oh, that's brilliant that you have that insight as well, to have it, how nerve-wracking it can be at the beginning. So I'll just read out Melanie's question, which is, she says, I'd love to get started in rent to rent. My desire is high. I really need that extra cash flow, but my motivation is low when it comes to taking action, and I keep stopping short. So what would you suggest? Because I know that a lot of people are like this, even if it's not in property. I'm very proactive in our property business, but we'll have all had the experience of making a plan. Maybe it's healthy eating. Maybe it's exercise or a gym routine. Maybe it's going walking. Maybe it's to do with our work. And we make that plan. And then when it comes to doing it, something gets in the way. And that sounds like it's what's happening to Melanie. So, Keith, I'd love your insights. Where should she start?
That's a great question. And I think it's very, very common. A lot of people are in the same situation. And as you say, it can apply to a lot of things, especially when we do the New Year's diet, and by February you've fallen back into old habits. And the reason for that is you're using willpower to try and change behaviors, and it's a really exhausting way to do it. And the thing to understand about this is that the unconscious pretty much runs your life for you. I mean, it drives you home while you're thinking of something else. You don't have to be consciously aware of everything that's going on around you. You can't be, but the unconscious can be. The thing is, in your unconscious is all of your personality, your behaviors, your beliefs, your worldview, and everything will get filtered through that and reflected back to you in your physical world reality. Now, as I said, I'm not trying to change anyone's belief system here, but I only do what works. I've tried it and tested it and experimented with it on myself and with others, and I know that this gets results. Whether it's an actuality or a philosophy, it just works. And what I find is that with this lack of motivation, it falls into maybe a couple of different areas. So if you've got an underlying unconscious belief, let's say around the area of self-worth, that you don't believe you're worthy, it's unconscious. You don't know you have it, but it will show up in your reality. Your unconscious will ensure that because you believe yourself to be not worthy, you won't achieve what you're trying to achieve because you don't deserve it. Even though consciously you might think you do, unconsciously, which is the more powerful part of our mind, it will be holding us back. It will cause us to procrastinate, or if we do get going, problems will show up, and we'll be caused to give up. We may even lose money. So these things have to be dealt with. And what I got really good at was identifying the blocks. You've got to be able to access the unconscious to get to the root cause. But once you get in there, all the answers are there, and it can be changed. And you can get the positive learnings, the truth about yourself, about how very worthy and wonderful as a human angel you truly are. And when that gets installed in the unconscious, replacing the old belief, then it's amazing how fast the transformation can occur. Little tweaks which make a huge, huge difference. So once you've got, as I say, got the baggage out the way, you can get in alignment, understand your values. Like a lot of people start on a journey like this because they want more freedom and flexibility in their life, but then they end up working 24/7 because they've got to pay the bills, maybe still hold the day job down and all that sort of thing. And it's the complete opposite to what they want. And when you compromise your values, problems will occur. The dissatisfaction will creep in, and you'll find issues in your life. It's the unconscious mind's way of telling you there's something you need to deal with. And in this case, it's compromising your values. But once you can access the unconscious and ask it, what's that about? It can give you the answer. And there's some great techniques. I find now, I've been doing it for so long, any problem comes up, I just go, what's that about? Bang, and the answer is there. That, oh God, yeah, I need to deal with that. And we're not taught how to do this as we grow up, and we're so bombarded with things that are we're sort of agreeing with things all the time. We're implanting them in our unconscious, and if we're always looking at things that we don't want in our life, we're going to end up attracting more of them. It's better to have a more positive mindset or an empowering mindset where, what do you really want in your heart? And yes, you want the cash flow, because money is really, really important in our society. It's the lifeblood of it. You can't live without it. But what do you really want the cash flow for? Once your basic needs are met and you've got all the material stuff, it's really about freedom or self-value. There's different. The cash on its own isn't the thing you want. It's the thing you need to achieve what you want. It's a tool to getting there. And if you've got money is bad, unconscious belief, which believe it or not, many people do, then your unconscious won't let you attract it. It's just the way it works. It's a vibrational thing at a quantum level. This physical harmonic is going on, and you don't get what you want. You get what you are a vibrational match for. What you need to do is change the vibration to be more in line with what you want. So I don't know, does that make any sense?
Thank you so much. I think this would be a great time to actually have some case studies, because that might just bring it to life for people. How has this really made a difference in people's lives that you've worked with?
Yeah, well, I can tell you one client I had last summer. His name was Keith, actually, the same as mine. You don't get too many. You don't often get two Keiths in a room, or other side of the screen in this case. So he had a fear. He'd fallen into procrastination, bad habits such as eating unhealthily. He'd taken a redundancy package and started his own business as a franchise in 2015. And he really enjoyed the hard work and the challenge of building it, became very successful. I think he was one of the top performers in the country, if not the world. And then around late 2018, his efforts started to slip. He spent less of the time doing the important stuff and started procrastinating, doing displacement activities, and it affected all areas of his life. His fitness and health went down, and he was getting enthusiastic for a short period, and then it diminished. He became easily distracted, and this is a very common pattern of behavior. And to go from being the best performer to just ticking over on residuals, which fortunately he could live on, but it wasn't fulfilling him, wasn't bringing him what he wanted in his life. He wanted to double his revenues, but just every time he started to do it, he just fell back and didn't make the progress. He knew what to do, but couldn't bring himself to do it. And he'd heard me talking at an online networking meeting. We had a conversation. He was very skeptical, and I know my stuff can sound a bit woo-woo, but I can assure you it's not. But he was open-minded enough to overcome that, and he signed up for a 6-week program. And it was only 2 sessions in, and he was totally stoked to get back into it. We'd done the releasing, negative anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. It doesn't mean you won't experience them again, but you won't have inappropriate or unwarranted emotional reactions. And the limiting beliefs, the fear of failure. I'm brilliant on phobias. I can do phobia in one go, one take usually. And he was already into it, and he had this thing 10 before 10, which he had to make 10 cold calls on from leads which had been given to him by the franchise operator before 10 a.m. And he knows it's a numbers game, and for every so many calls he makes, he's going to get a customer. But he'd stopped doing it. But now, after just 2 sessions, he was looking forward, can you believe it, looking forward to doing 10 before 10 every day. We'd completely changed the neurology on how he was perceiving that. We'd released the emotional resistance. And he'd got this ambition to have 4 new clients by Christmas. He started with me late August, and we went through to October. And he wanted 4 new customers by Christmas, but he managed to get 3, and then he did get a 4th one in January. So I would call that a result. Yeah. And that's exactly how we did it. That very process of dump the baggage, align with your core being, access the inner resources, and the magic can happen.
So is there anything that people can do? Because that's a phenomenal story. And I bet people are listening thinking, oh, I wish I could rewire my mind and just go from, sitting procrastinating to all guns blazing like Keith did. Are there things that we can do? Should we really be booking a session in? Is that the only way to?
Well, I think not necessarily the only way. I mean, if you want to talk to me, I'm always happy to talk, and if I can help you, I will offer you a program, but it's not for everyone. I don't. Sometimes I'll say I'm not the right choice for you. There's a better way of doing it. But there are things you can do without having to. Kind of. It just depends how deep your programming is and what has to come out from it. But one of the things I do is a technique called ha breathing, and it's a way of breathing that increases this rapport with the unconscious mind, so you can actually get better access to your intuition. And so that's a very sort of simple technique which can help if you're overwhelmed, and that's the thing that's stopping you, because honestly, if you've got too many things to do, you can end up doing nothing. You can find so many displacement activities to avoid doing anything. I've got a really good technique for overwhelmed, which is basically simply list everything and then just pick the 3 most urgent or most important, put the old list away, so you've got a new list of 3, and just pick the one of those 3 that is most urgent and most important, put that list away and do the one thing. Think of nothing else but the one thing, and at least you've got one thing done. But then when you have done it, you can pick the next one, and that's a very sort of practical way. So I always look at it, the 3D world, the physical, mental, emotional, and the energetic, or if you want to call it spiritual. There's having this alignment and an imbalance in one is going to upset the others. That's how you can get physical ailments from mental, emotional imbalances, like if you're stuffing down emotions like fear or grief, they can come out in other ways, and they can be released quite easily. Does that answer your question?
It does. So there are ways to release these inner blocks, and people can get in touch with you about that. But also, for something like overwhelm, I love the way you've listed this, because somebody might be starting a restaurant and think, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to speak to landlords, I need to speak to agents, I need to get my business set up. Oh, I'm not sure about how to, what to put on my website. And so when people are beginning, it can feel overwhelming. So I love that, listing everything out and then just choosing the one thing.
The other another thing which is that people often are unnecessarily fearing the worst. Now, what if you thought about what you do want rather than what you don't want? And so instead of fretting unnecessarily about how, something that might never happen, how things can go wrong, what if they go well? And so my technique for that is this. When you go to bed at night, the last thing you do is just think of what's going on the next day. Maybe you're talking to a landlord or an agent, and what's the outcome you want from it? I call this best possible outcome. The last technique, I call it 3 things. This one I call best possible outcome. So just write down, landlord meeting, whatever it is. It can be anything. It can be something personal or business related. And then associate into it. Just take a long, slow, deep breath. Think about it. See through your own eyes. What do you see? How do you know when it's gone really well? What do you see? What do you hear? What's he saying to you or her? What's your self-talk saying to yourself? And most importantly, how does it feel for that to go exactly the way you want it? Bring that emotion to it, because this is one of the ways we set up that vibration through our thoughts, our words, and our feelings. And of course, our actions. So you will be taking the action the next day, but just write it down, associate into it 1 minute maximum. Go to sleep. The next morning, first thing when you wake up, before you do anything, before you empty your bladder or anything like that, look at what you read the night before, because your unconscious is very receptive just, at this times of day when you're going to sleep or waking up. Look at what you wrote the night before, landlord meeting, and associate back into it. Just take that long, slow, deep breath. It's gone really, really well. How do I know? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Most importantly, what does it feel like? Bring that feeling to it. 1 minute. Do it for 1 minute. forget about it, go about your day. And anytime something comes into your mind, this is what I call best possible outcome, that you don't want, that you're worrying it might not go right, or just swap it for your best possible outcome. It's your head. You're responsible for what goes on in it. If there's something in there you don't want, chuck it out, put in what you do want, but have something ready, like a best possible outcome. And you may find you get more of what you want in your life and a lot less of what you don't want.
Absolutely. That's such a good tip there, because can you imagine, people might think, well, how does this work, just thinking about it, but can you imagine how you're going to go into the meeting with the landlord thinking about the best possible outcome and thinking about having a really good communication, a really good exchange, as opposed to thinking, oh, the landlord's going to hate me, it's all going to go terribly wrong, I'm going to be so embarrassed. You're going to go into that with a much different energy and different actions as well.
And they will pick up on that, even if they don't consciously recognize it. At the unconscious level, the energy exchange is happening, and they will get a feeling about it, like this feels good to me, or it doesn't feel so good to me. And if you're going in there already knowing that it's going to go swimmingly well, and you're feeling good about it, they'll get that. That'll rub off on them as well. It helps. It helps you get the win-win that we're looking for. You always want to get a win-win. If you want them, you want both parties feeling good about it at the end of the day. I guess you guys know that because your podcast has covered that before. But you're absolutely right. It makes a huge difference focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want.
Yes. So we've got a few things there. Keith, is there anything that you want to add on that we haven't talked about yet that's good for people when they're feeling high on desire but low on the motivation to take the actions they know they should take or they know they want to take?
Honestly, if you're really, really trying and not making any progress, it is possible to overcome it on your own with sort of sheer grit and determination. But when you're doing it with willpower, you will slip back to old habits. You need to change your neurology. You need to be rewired for success. And it's most easy and expedient to have someone to facilitate that for you, because you've got to get into the unconscious, and it's hard to do with your own. You can't ask the questions with your own conscious mind and then get the answers from the unconscious, because you're flipping between the two. But if someone who knows what they're doing can relax you down into it, and we can get into the unconscious and find out, what's that about, we can get the answers. You can even try it on your own if you can relax down. And when you want to go forward but you can't, where do you feel it? Do you get a feeling? If you get the feeling, you can ask the unconscious mind, what's that about? And you may find you can already get some kind of an answer which can help you deal with it. And it is often something which doesn't make sense, and you can let it go and decide how you do want things to be.
That's great. And then for people, I put on the video, you can also see this on the website at renttorentsuccess.com/ATA27. That's Ask the Angels 27. And you can go to woodlandwellness.co.uk and find out more. Can I just ask, Keith, if people have never done anything like this before, but they're thinking, do you know what, I could do with being released, and I want to be like Keith, not you, Keith. I'm sure they want to be like you as well, but like your other Keith, who went from, not doing anything to like really on fire. So what happens when somebody would, can they book a call with you? Is that how it starts?
Absolutely, yes. So just you can contact me through LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and you can send me a message. Just contact and make a message. You can go to woodlandwellness.co.uk. There's a contact form there. By the way, if you do go there, right on the homepage, there's this called instant stress reliefs. You just put your email address in, instant stress relief, and you get a 5-minute audio to get, if you're stressed and frantic or just frazzled, and you want to calm your system down. It's not really a permanent fix, but it's a great temporary relief from being stressed and frazzled. And if you're trying to go to sleep at night and you've got the mind chatter's keeping you awake, this will send you right off. You'll feel very calm after it. So you can have that, but obviously in exchange for your email address. But don't worry, I never send anything out. But yes, so through the website or on LinkedIn, I do have a Facebook group as well called Step Into Your Power, if you want to look for that. I have to say, though, I'm not very big on the marketing. I don't promote myself very well. I have a good supply of referrals. Most of my clients come by referral, and I do have a property portfolio. I don't have to do this. I get paid every day, whether I get out of bed or not. And very often people I've worked with can do the same once they've released the baggage, got in alignment, and are accessing those inner resources. But it's a mission. I do this because it brings me joy and fulfillment, and I'm much happier when I have purpose in my life. And all of it is much happier than hawking computers like I used to do. There's only so many of them only so many product launches you can do and still feel you're doing something worthwhile, and this is it. This is my identity now. It's who I am. So yes, have a chat. We'll and sometimes we'll book a 30-minute chat, and 2 hours later we're still yakking about stuff. So if I've got the especially if it's later on in the day and there's nothing after it, I'm quite happy to talk all day about all sorts of stuff. But yeah, make the contact and let's have a chat if you want to know more about it. And if you want help, and I can help you, this is very important to me, that because I can pick and choose clients, it has to be someone I know I can help, and I'll do my own inner work to determine that. If I get a yes on that, I know that it will be transformational and life-changing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you've said absolutely makes sense. And I'm very interested also. We haven't quite organized our date yet, but I'm looking forward to our session together. This will be the first time I've done something like this, but I've just been so impressed by what you do. And I'm interested to try it for myself. So what I want to do now, Keith, is just summarize. So we had Melanie, who was high on desire, but low on motivation. She wasn't taking action in her business. And you gave a few tips. You can, apart from people can take the next step and go deeper with a professional like yourself and book a call on your website. Or they can simply ask their own unconscious, ask themselves what's blocking. And sometimes if you can drop into that, the unconscious mind, then you may get a reply and be able to release the unhelpful thoughts. Then you've got, or unhelpful belief. Then you gave a tip for overwhelm. Many of you starting up your rent-to-rent businesses may feel overwhelmed. And one thing is to get everything out of your mind that you have on your mind that you need to do, write down every last thing and keep asking yourself, what else, until everything's out of your mind. There's nothing else. Choose your top 3 things, write them on one paper, choose your one thing, write that on a paper and just do that one thing. It's a bit like that book by, I think it's Gary Keller.
And forget everything else while you're doing it as well. That's the most important bit. Don't let anything else distract you. Just be on the one thing.
Perfect. And the other thing you've got is that the tuning into what you want to happen, your best possible case.
Best possible outcome. Yeah. Best possible outcome. And do it before you go to sleep for a minute. First thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, best possible outcome again. And then you can begin to attach those feelings, how you're going to feel about that best possible outcome to whatever the thing is that you're worrying about
e.g. meeting with a letting agent, meeting with a landlord, so that you go into those interactions having the feelings of success and the feelings of confidence. And again, these are all things that that Keith can work with you on if you want to do it with somebody else rather than by yourself. So Keith, as we draw to a close, is there anything you want to just leave people with before we end today?
Yes, I'll say one thing, and it's sort of a motto that I like to use. Your expectations will be met, so expect miracles.
Your expectation. Do you know, I've never heard that before.
No, I made it up myself.
Oh, right. I love that one so much. Your expectations will be met, so expect miracles. And I just want to remind you, we have been speaking today to Keith Corbett. As he said, he's mainly on LinkedIn, so that's a great place to message him. If this episode has resonated with you, or if you maybe thought it was a bit woo-woo at the start, and now you're thinking, do you know what? I want to try that. So thank you so much, Keith, for joining us today. And I think that's worked brilliantly. And Ask the Angels has really got a power professional expertise on all about motivation. So I want to thank you. And
No, you're very, very welcome.
And if you are listening with me here at the end, I know that you like listening, you like audio, you like podcasts. So I want to remind you that if you would like a free copy of our Rent to Rent Success book on Audible, there is a free 30-day trial. You can go to renttoRentSuccess.com/audible, AUDIBLE. If you're already on Audible, you'll need to use your Audible credits to listen. So I think you'll really love that book if you've enjoyed this podcast. It's renttoRentSuccess.com/audible. So that's all for now. Thank you again, Keith. And thank you for listening. I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being with me here today. If you would like more, we've written the #1 best-selling book on Rent to Rent. You can find it at renttoRentSuccess.com/book. Reviewers on Amazon have described it as the best Rent to Rent HMO book and also as a definitive reference guide and inspirational. Take your next step today and buy the book. You can find it at rentsuccess.com/book. And I'll see you again next time. Until then, remember, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer.